starlit night. The moon is shining bright. You're the one that I need.
That's the one. Parlay. Down to the depths, whatever mutton had thought of parlay. French. Latin-based, of course. Inventors of mayonnaise.
Hello everyone. I bet you're wondering, what is mayonnaise, where did it come from, and is this ever famous Hellmann's mayonnaise real? You got questions, I got answers, so let's get cracking. First off, what is mayonnaise? Well, strictly speaking, it's composed of 9 ingredients. Soybean oil, water, whole eggs and egg yolks, which is the primary ingredient for all mayonnaise, vinegar, salt, sugar, lemon juice, calcium, EDTA, and natural flavors, which is a blanket term for a combination of any of these ingredients. Spice, the non-legal drug type, fruits, vegetables, edible yeast as opposed to non-edible, herbs, bark, bud, root, leaf, or similar plant materials, meat, seafood, poultry, eggs, and dairy or fermentation products. As you may have noticed that Hellmann advertises itself as the real mayonnaise and Miracle Whip does not. Why is that? Short answer, because Miracle Whip isn't mayonnaise. It's mayonnaise-like sauce that has extra spices and sweeteners added to it to give a slightly different taste that some people prefer. Originally, Miracle Whip used powdered eggs instead of real eggs to provide a cheaper alternative to Hellmann's since it was 1933 and there was a Great Depression going around. Now, it just has more sugar and more spices added to it to give it a unique taste to contrast Hellmann's. So, that answers what mayonnaise is and whether or not Hellmann's is real. But where did mayonnaise even come from? Most people who actually looked into this believe that mayonnaise is a French invention created in 1756 when the French captured the city of Mahon in the Isle of Minorca from the British, who took it from the Spanish in 1708. Duke de Richelieu laid siege to Port Mahon and won the battle. The Duke's chef, lacking in the cream needed for the righteous victory sauce, instead used an oil dressing, and the Duke loved it, told everyone how amazing the invention was, and thus mayonnaise was born. Unless you ask the Spanish. The Spanish deem that this story is stupid and that they were the ones that originally made the sauce, and they call it salsa mahonija. The Spanish claim that the French discovered it while on the Isle of Minorca and popularized it in giving it a French-like name. The French counter by pointing out that mayonnaise is historically in French cookbooks, but the Spanish counter that by saying that the cookbooks were all dated after the Battle of Mahon. The French then counter again by pointing to a poem because the French thought that writing poems for recipes was cool. But anyway, the poem was written by Lancelot in 1605, the same Lancelot who wrote Overture de Cuisine in Paris in 1604. The Spanish counter to this is that the poem shows up only in the Spanish book called Almanac de Conferencias Culinarias, which is dated in 1892, thus raising the suspicion that the French planted that poem there to fool the Spanish, purposely to keep it away from France, because apparently the poem wasn't written in 17th century French, that no Frenchman would believe the poem was written in the 17th century, but the Spanish would? Ugh. And if you're getting lost in all this disputing drama behind the origin of mayonnaise, strap yourselves in because it's about to get worse. There's also a dispute about where the word mayonnaise came from. Per the traditional story, the word mayonnaise was originally mahonnaise, root word being Mahon in honor of the city they just captured. So how do we get from mayonnaise to mayonnaise? Well, it's theorized that in 1806 somebody screwed up the spelling in a French cookbook and wrote mayonnaise, and it all went downhill from there. Other theories is that the word was originally bayonnaise, named after the French town of Bayonne, and that some mumbling and thick French accents had reduced the B down to an M for mayonnaise. And on it goes. What we do know, however, is that the French popularized mayonnaise and brought it to the US in the 1800s, where it was an almost instant hit. Even our 30th president, Calvin Coolidge, declared that his Aunt Mary's mayonnaise dressing was his favorite food. The sauce was so popular that German immigrant sandwich makers Nina and Richard Hellmann started a mayonnaise business in 1913 that they named, you guessed it, Hellmann's. The couple had a few mayonnaise versions in their little store, which they color-coded with ribbons, but the blue of which was the most popular, so they went with that one and started a hugely successful American mayonnaise business. Thank you so much for watching.